This lecture deals with syntax-directed translation. So, if we talk about syntax-directed translation and syntax-directed definition, these are actually used in semantic analysis phase and intermediate code generation phase. So, these schemes can be, or these representations can be used to generate intermediate code, and that will be used by the intermediate code generator. And again, this can be used in the semantic analysis phase to check the semantic, whether the semantic is correct or not. So let me explain syntax directed definition. So what do you mean by syntax directed definition? So syntax directed definition is nothing but the grammar rule or the production plus semantic rule. That is, you have to associate one or more semantic rules to each production in the grammar. For example, let us consider this particular production, E giving E plus T. So this is the production. So you can call grammar rule as production also. Production. So you can associate one semantic rule to this particular production, that is E dot value equal to. So in order to differentiate this E and this E, so let me relabel this as E1. So I can write E dot val equal to E1 dot val plus T dot val. So I just used this subscript to differentiate the variable E in left hand side and right hand side. So this is a semantic rule that can be attached to this particular production. So such a pair, that is grammar rule or the production plus semantic rule, together form syntax directed definition. So let us consider another example. So D stands for declaration statement, D giving T L. So I can write a semantic rule like this: L dot inherited is equal to T dot type. So here declaration is defined as, declaration gives type followed by list of items. For example, let this could be a declaration int A, B, C. So you can replace this with T and this with list. So a declaration is defined as type followed by list of items. So what happens is, this list will be having the type T dot type. So if T dot type is integer, these list of items will have the data type integer. Now if we go through these examples, you can say that associated to each grammar variable or non-terminal, there exists some attribute. For example, if you consider this E, the attribute associated is E dot val. So that is the attribute associated to this E. E1 dot val is the attribute associated to E1, and T dot val is the attribute associated to T. Similarly, L dot inh is the attribute associated to L, and T dot type is the attribute associated to T. So in syntax directed definition, we have to associate one or more attributes to each variable or each non-terminal. So this attribute can be actually used to represent the value of that variable, or it could be used to represent some memory location, or the attribute can be used to represent some string. So you can have multiple attributes for the same variable. Now let me introduce syntax directed translation. Translation. This is actually abbreviated as SDT, and syntax directed definition is abbreviated as SDD. So if we consider syntax directed translation, it's actually a combination of grammar rule or production along with some semantic action. So here you are using semantic rule and here you are having semantic action. So let us consider this particular example, E giving E1 plus T. So let the action to be performed is a print statement. So let the action be print. The item to be printed is plus. So you are encapsulating the semantic action within parenthesis pair. So whenever you, or while processing the syntax tree, whenever you identify this particular reduction, E giving E1 plus T or E giving E plus T, the semantic action to be performed is to be performed is to output the symbol plus. This actually semantic action, or this particular action is actually used to convert or used in the conversion of infix to POSIX. So if you are having A plus B, first you have to print plus. So what is the difference between these two? In this case, you are having just a semantic rule. So while processing the parse tree or the syntax tree, you are not going to perform any specific semantic action. So you have to validate the parse tree with the help of the semantic rule. But in the case of syntax directed translation, associated to each production, you will be having a sequence in the sense one or more semantic actions. So that semantic set of actions will be separated with the delimiting symbol semicolon. So those steps or semantic actions will be performed in the same order, same sequence, and based on, or it will execute each action specified in the set of semantic actions which is delimited by the parenthesis pair. So in this case, syntax directed translation, while performing a reduction or while processing a particular subtree in your parse tree, it will execute this action, sequence of actions. Now, so here also you can have another action. So if you want, you can write like E dot val equal to E1 dot val plus T dot val, and if you want to printf E dot val. So in this case you are having multiple action. So first it performs this operation. So the content in, or the attribute value E1 dot val will be added with T dot val, and that will be given to E dot val, and that value will be displayed. So whenever you process the subtree corresponding to E giving E1 plus T, these are the sequence of actions to be performed. So if you consider this case, here you are associating attribute value to each non-terminal. So let us consider a typical example for syntax directed definition, that is a grammar corresponding to arithmetic expression. So let it be e giving e plus t, or e giving t giving t star f, or t giving f giving id, or f giving id. So in order to differentiate the variable in left and right hand side, you can use this subscript notation. So t giving t1 into f. So here the associated semantic rule, this is the production. Next one is the semantic rule. So associated semantic rule is e dot val is equal to e1 dot val plus t dot val. If you consider this production, the associated semantic rule is e dot val is equal to t dot val. So if you consider this particular production, it's clear that the attribute value associated with t will be directly given to e. So that is the reason for writing the semantic rule. If you consider this one, you can write t dot val is equal to t1 dot val into f dot val. If you consider this one, the associated semantic rule is t dot val is equal to f dot val. If you consider this one, f dot val is equal to, see, if you consider id actually represents some identifier. Let the identifier be a. So this id represent the token identifier whose lexeme is a, and in your grammar or in your program, a must be having some value assigned to it, and that value will be referred to id, and that is represented as id dot lexval, because the value is determined during the lexical analysis phase. So if you consider this particular production, f dot val will be getting the lexical value associated with the identifier id. Now let us consider a simple arithmetic expression, 2 plus 3 into 5. So this is actually equivalent to, so whenever the lexical analyzer scans this particular instruction expression, it will return id1 plus id2 into id3. So what about the parse tree corresponding to this particular sequence of tokens? So the syntax analyzer will build the parse tree corresponding to these sequence of tokens. So it will be of this form. So we will be having e giving e1 plus t. So this e1 will give t will give f will give id, f will give id1. Now if you consider t gets splitted to t1 star f. So t1 will give f will give id2. Now this f will turn to id3. So this will be the result of syntax analysis phase if it receives this sequence of tokens, and this will be built, or this syntax tree will be generated based on this grammar rule. So if you consider yield of this parse tree, if you scan if you walk across the leaf nodes from left to right, you will be getting id1 plus id2 star id3. So if we move across the parse tree from across the leaves of the parse tree from left to right, you will be getting the yield id1 plus id2 into id3. Now if you apply this semantic rules, what happens? So id1 dot lexval, so that will be equal to 2. So what about id2 dot lexval? So this will be equal to 3. id3 dot lexval is equal to 5. So in actual translation process, you have to move across this parse tree from left to right in the order from top to bottom. So you will be moving like this. So when you move here, you will when you reach this point, you will identify the direction f giving id. So if you consider f giving id, the semantic rule is f dot val. So f dot val is equal to id dot lexval. So that is 2. And again when you move back, you can identify a reduction t giving f. So t giving f is, for t giving f, the associated semantic rule is t dot val equal to f dot val. So t dot val will be assigned the value f dot val, which is 2 itself. Then when you move through the parse tree, you are having E1, you can identify the direction E1 giving t. So E giving t, the semantic rule is E1 dot val is equal to t dot val, which is 2. So you will move across the parse tree like this. So when you reach this point, you will be getting f dot val equal to id2 dot lexval. So this will be 3. When you reach this point, you are having reduction t1 giving f. For t giving f, the semantic rule is t dot val equal to f dot val. So t1 dot val is equal to f dot val is 3. And again you will reach this point. When you reach this point, you will be getting f dot val is equal to id3 dot lexval, that is 5. When you reach this point, you will identify the reduction t giving t1 dot val into f dot val. If you consider t giving t1 into f, the semantic rule is t dot val is equal to t1 dot val. t1 dot val is 3 into f dot val. So 3 into 5. So t dot val will turn to 3 into 5, which is 15. And when it reaches this point, it will identify the direction E giving E1 plus t dot val. So E1 dot val is 2, 2 plus 15. So E dot val will be equal to, so E dot val will be equal to, so here it will be E1 dot val. So E1 dot val, that is 2 plus 15, that is 17. So when it performs this, applies this semantic rule, this will be the resultant parse tree. And such a parse tree, that is parse tree with values assigned to each node, is termed as annotated parse tree. So parse tree with values, attribute values assigned to each node is termed as annotated parse tree. Again, if you consider this particular subtree, that is subtree rooted at f actually gets value from its child. Again, if you consider t gets its value from its child. If you consider e1, this particular attribute, it actually gets value from its child. If you consider this t gets value from its children. So the value of t is computed or depends on the value at its children. So such an attribute is termed as synthesized attribute. That is the attribute values which depends on the children. is termed as synthesized attribute. If you consider this particular attribute e dot val, its value is computed based on or determined or depends on the value at its children. So such attribute is termed as synthesized attribute. So let us consider another syntax directed definition. So this is syntax directed definition represents arithmetic expression. So now you can consider another syntax directed definition corresponding to declaration. So you can have D giving TL, and then the D giving TL. Now T, let it be int, T giving real. So these are the two data types. You are having L giving L1 comma ID, L giving ID. So these are the productions. So here let the semantic rule is L dot inh is equal to T dot type. Then okay, T, so here it will be T dot type equal to integer. Here it will be T dot type equal to real. So here L1 dot inh is equal to L dot inh and add type. So you are having one more semantic rule for this one. So add type id dot entry L dot inh. So you are having L giving id. Then the semantic rule associated is add type So this is the syntax directed definition corresponding to a simple declaration statement. So if you consider this one, so this corresponds to declaration. For example, let us consider int a b. So whenever lexical analyzer scans this particular instruction, the output will be somewhat like int id1 comma id2. So this is actually a list of identifiers. So what happens is this the list will be having the type. So this list will be having the attribute L dot inh, and that will be having the type T dot type. So this is actually T dot type, the attribute associated with this type. So in the actual, if you consider the subtree corresponding to this particular instruction, so you'll be having declaration giving. So let us construct the parse tree. Declaration giving type followed by a list. Now this type is int in this case, and if you consider this list is splitted to list1 comma id. Now if you consider this list1, this be id, and you know that the lexeme corresponding to this id is a, and the lexeme corresponding to this id is b. Now what happens while processing this particular parse tree? So here you are having a int a comma b. So if we if we consider yield of the parse tree, it is actually int id comma id, and the lexeme associated with this id is a and that of this id is b. So if we process this particular parse tree, syntax tree based on the semantic rule, you will be moving from left to right in the order from top to bottom in this parse tree. So you will move from top to bottom in the order from left to right. So when you identify this particular reduction, that is t giving int, the action performed is t dot, the semantic rule associated with that reduction is t dot type equal to integer. So t dot type is the attribute associated with this particular variable t, and it will get the value from its child. So as far as t is concerned, that is actually an inherited attribute. T inherits the value from its child. Now when it moves from left to right, whenever it reaches L, it will identify the reduction d giving TL. So the semantic rule is L dot inh is equal to t dot type, that is integer. So if you consider this particular process, this attribute is not getting the value from its children. This attribute actually gets the value from its sibling. So such an attribute is termed as inherited attribute. So if an attribute gets value from its children, then the attribute is termed as synthesized attribute. If the attribute gets its value from its sibling or it's from its parent, then the attribute is termed as inherited attribute. Now it will go to this point. So whenever it reaches this point, you are having L dot inh. So when you move across this tree structure, whenever it reaches this point, what about the attribute value? You are having L giving L1 comma id. So L1 dot inh will be equal to L dot inh, that is integer. So as far as this attribute is concerned, it actually receives the value from its parent. For that reason, you can call this attribute as an inherited attribute. So this attribute is termed as inherited because it gets its value from its sibling. This is termed as inherited because it gets its value from its parent. Now when it processes this one, it will perform this action. So this subtree will be processed as such, that is L giving L1 comma id, L1 dot inherited. This attribute will be given the value of its parent, followed by performing the operation add type id dot entry. So add type id dot entry is equal to L dot inh. So there will be a record corresponding to this particular id, that is id whose lexeme is b in the symbol table. So type of that identifier will be entered while performing this particular operation. So that id type, that is the purpose of this particular semantic rule. Here you are expected to apply this rule, that is add type in the symbol table for this particular id dot entry, and that type will be the value corresponding to this inherited attribute. So while processing this syntax tree by applying the semantic rule, type information get updated in the symbol table that will be used in future by the semantic analysis phase in order to verify whether meaning of the program is correct or not. So in this way we can differentiate the attributes into synthesized attribute and inherited attribute. Synthesized attribute always gets its value from its children. If you consider inherited attribute, inherited attribute will get its value from the sibling or from parent. And based on this concept, you can differentiate syntax directed definition into S attributed definition and L attributed definition. So if all attributes in SDT syntax directed definition are synthesized attributes, then you can call that SDD syntax directed definition as S attributed definition. So if you consider S attributed definition, all attributes must be synthesized attributes. But if you consider L attributed definition, attributes must be either synthesized or inherited. So here, if you consider L attributed definition, you can have a combination of synthesized and inherited attributes. But for inherited attributes, the attribute value must be inherited from its parent or left sibling. This is very important. So if you consider the L attributed definition, it is actually a combination of synthesized and inherited attributes, and for inherited attributes the value must be inherited from the parent node, from the parent or from the left sibling. So if you consider this example, this attribute actually inherits the attribute from left sibling. No attribute is allowed to inherit the attribute from right sibling. So this is actually an example for L attributed definition, which includes synthesized attribute and inherited attribute, but inheritance is always from left to right. That's it.